Hey everybody, this is PJ Riley from Lancaster Archery. In our video studio today, we wanted to introduce to you the TenPoint TRX 26 crossbow. Great new compact fast shooting crossbow from the folks at TenPoint. And 26, so what that refers to is the overall length of this crossbow, and that's going to be from the back of the stock to here. Obviously the stirrup is a little bit in front, but 26 inches right to the end of the bow there. Still really compact. And what we're gonna have is, so I measured this, and from outside of the cam to outside of the cam is 14 inches, which is considerably smaller than crossbows of the past. And when this crossbow is cocked, it's gonna be 5 3/4 inches wide. So super small that this thing is gonna be once you get it cocked. And so what you can see here, and what's indicated by the R in TRX, is that this is what we consider a reverse draw crossbow. And that is that the cams are at the end of the bow rather than back here. And what that allows them to do, it allows them to do a couple things. It allows them to shorten the crossbow, because now, you know, if the bow were turned around to the traditional way, the string would sit back here, and so you would lose all this string distance. What generates the speed from the crossbow is the amount of time that this string is pushing that arrow. And so by flipping it over, man, they really gained a lot of string track distance there. So it allowed them to shorten it, and it allows them to get the speed. And so for that speed, the speed rating for this crossbow is going to be up to 460 feet per second. However, I will say that's going to be shooting a different arrow than the one that comes with it. What comes with it is a center punch HPX. And with this arrow, the speed rating is up to 440 feet per second. That's still screaming fast, but it is a 20 foot per second difference. We're going to shoot this through our Garmin chronograph, and we'll give you a speed test with the arrow that the crossbow kit would come with. But let's talk about this. So TenPoint has been great over the years of just making these crossbows, I think, more and more user-friendly. And for me, that starts with the cocking and decocking process. In the early days with crossbows, if we wanted to decock them at the end of the day, there were some janky methods that involved cocking ropes, but the main way that you were decocking the crossbow was to shoot it at the end of the day. So you either had to get a special decocking arrow so you could shoot it into the ground, or you had to carry a target with you, or, you know, some folks just took an old bolt and just shot it into the ground, but a lot of times that got destroyed. So all that is to say now, TenPoint, I think, has perfected the cocking and decocking method with what they called the AccuSlide Max. We're going to take this out on the range and give you a full demonstration of cocking and decocking this crossbow, as well as shooting it. But I'll describe it to you. There's going to be a trigger box in here that's connected to a ribbon. And so to cock this, I'm going to push that trigger box forward, capture the string, take my crank and wind it back. And one of the cool things is anywhere along the way, there's an internal brake system built into here. Again, in the old days, if you let go of this handle while you were cranking the string back, it came back, it spun the opposite direction with some force. I know that from experience. This, you can take your hand off and the handle will not move. It'll stay right there. So that is user-friendly. Gonna crank it all the way back, and then at the end of the day, if I didn't shoot anything, I am able to decock this again using the handle, just wind it down and get it back to the resting position. And again, I can take my hand off it at any time, or if it slips, and the handle's not just going to go crazy and unwind. It's going to stay right where it is. So AccuSlide Max, TenPoint has perfected that system there. Now, what else are we looking at here? So we have what TenPoint calls their AccuLock scope bridge. So take a look at how this scope, this is the TenPoint Rangemaster 100. When you buy the full setup, this is the scope that comes with it. But look how it's mounted. It's, in essence, it's a Picatinny rail, but this is one piece that is connected back here at the handle. It's a solid piece up that just connects right to the riser. There is no point that this bridge is not connected to some part of the crossbow. In the old days, that bridge just there was a rail that stuck out in front and it wasn't connected to anything. It could bend, it flexed. There was all kinds of issues with that. This one, the bridge is connected everywhere, so your scope is not going to move. Great system they have there. Speaking of the riser, as we call it with Crossbow, we are going to have our twin riser technology. So you can see this plate up top here that the bridge is connected to. There is a matching one on the inside here that our cables are connected to. So those are two matching plates that's considered to be the riser, and by having those two plates, TenPoint was able to make this structure more rigid, but they were also able to take out a lot of weight, which brings us to, I want to see what this thing weighs. As set up, with the scope, let's see what kind of weight, what are you hauling into the woods? Right there, 8.6 pounds. So that's what you're carrying into the woods there. And as I mentioned, by having that twin riser system in there, one of the things they were able to do was to reduce the weight of this crossbow. You are going to have pistol grip here with our AR style ambidextrous safety, whether you're right or left-handed. I've got it on this side. I've got it on this side. So you can shoot this right or left-handed. You've got that safety right where you need it. And we do have, TenPoint has gone in the last couple years to a trigger tech trigger. Crossbows in the olden days had a lot of play in the triggers. So with Trigger Tech, that's a well-known name in the gun world. They've taken out that play. Now we have a super crisp trigger on the TRX 26. Now, accuracy, let's talk about that. So, as we mentioned, you're going to get with it the Center Punch HPX. This is a 20-inch arrow. What's nice about it is what it has on it is the Alpha Nock HPX. So when you load the crossbow, this is with the Alpha Nock HPX, it's going to click when the arrow is seated properly. With some of the older style arrows, you'd put it in there and it would just stop moving, but you're like, is it in there or did it slide off? I don't know. I'm not really sure. That audible click, that lets you know, okay, now the arrow is seated properly. But then, so it's held in place in the trigger box by the nock, and then the only other place that touches the arrow is up here at the end. We're going to have these two ball bearings. So we are supporting the arrow at the nock and at the tip when the arrow is loaded. Very similar to a traditional compound bow. We want to minimize contact with the arrow to whatever you're shooting it out of, in this case the crossbow. So it's not touching this rail here, it's not touching that. Don't have to worry about that. It's supported up here. Basically, if you want to think of this as your arrow rest and back at the string in the trigger box. So great system there. That's designed for accuracy. All right, so that's a rundown of the features of the TenPoint TRX 26. But as I mentioned, we want to show you how these systems work. We want to do our speed test and we're going to shoot it into a target, see how accurate these things are. So let's head out to the range and do that. All right, so we got our TenPoint TRX 26. We're out here at the range. So the first thing I'm going to run through is the cocking process. So you can see I've got my crank here, and to start the process, what I want to do is I'm going to have this lever back here. So I'm going to set this on the ground, but what I want to do is press this down and I'm going to start pushing the trigger box forward. I'll show you that. So right here, I'm just going to press this, and right here you can see this little lever sticking out. Once I get past that, I can let go of this silver button, and now this will just make its way down. And what I want to do is I want to hear a click when I push this into the string. Once I hear that click, I know that I am connected to the string. Now I can take my handle. All right, so I got my handle here. I just want to push in on this little button, get it positioned in place, and then silent crank. No noise, no clicking, and then, as we mentioned, my hand comes off, doesn't go anywhere. Great, super simple. Now I'm getting higher tension, can let it go, no problem. Now, when I get back towards the end, again, I want to listen for a click, and you're going to see this little silver button move. Right there. Click. Now I know I'm fully engaged. I can take what I want to do at this point. I want to take one backwards turn, remove the handle. Now over here, you're going to see this little button. I'm going to press that in. As I press it in, I'm going to come here. I'm going to turn this counterclockwise until it stops. Right there, and I am good to go. So at this point, I would load my crossbow and I would shoot it. But we're not going to do that. We're going to show you the decocking process. So it's the end of the day. I didn't shoot anything. I've unloaded the crossbow. So now it's time to decock the crossbow. So how I want to start, I want to take my handle, put it in, and now I want to pull this back, and this time I want to crank forward. And as I crank forward, I'm going to feel it get tighter, and then now you can see this moving. Once that is able to move, now I'm just going to go the other direction. As soon as it starts going forward, I can let go of this silver button, and there you go. Now I'm decocking, and as I mentioned, I can let go. Nothing happens, stays where it is. Come all the way back down, and there I am. Take out my handle, and I'm good to go. Now for your next day, you'll start already with your trigger box connected to the string. Okay, so we're out here with our TenPoint TRX 26 now to get our speed test and to see how it shoots. Of course, we are going to load this with our center punch HPX. You got two vanes of one color, an odd color vane. I'm gonna put this one down. And remember, we have our alpha HPX knock, so we're gonna listen for a click. And this one, I can come in from the side. One of the nice things about this is we have our opening on the end here, so we can slide the arrow around that once we get in position. But I'm gonna listen for the click. Now I know I'm ready to go. So we have, I mean, take a look at how narrow that thing is. That's ridiculous. Well, we do have our AR style safety here. Switch that to fire. Now we're ready to go. See what kind of speed we get. (434.7 feet per second. That's crazy fast. For somebody used to shooting compound bows, these speeds are ridiculous. But this Trigger Tech trigger, super nice. That thing just even pressure till it came back. There's no travel. All it took was pressure. I just had to get to the pressure point. I was able to stay on target the whole time. And there's no recoil or vibration. Crossbows in the past, you know, you would just feel a lot happen at the shot. I don't feel anything. I hear that click as it fires. As far as crossbows go, this one is pretty quiet. You know, that reverse draw crossbow producing those crazy speeds, it's pretty quiet. They're, you know, all crossbows produce noise. So in that terms, they are all loud. However, as far as crossbows go, this one is pretty darn quiet. Balance is nice. You know, it's compact. It just comes up and holds on the shoulder nice. Of course, I was shooting off the bench, but even just holding it, it balances nice. You got a nice amount of weight at the back end, which helps that crossbow stay up. A lot of them tend to be top heavy. This is not one of those. So TenPoint TRX 26. You want to see this crossbow on our website, be sure to click the link in the description below. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like it, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to click that bell to get notifications whenever we put out new videos. As always, if you have any questions, you can visit us at lancasterarchery.com.